Since we are done with the animations in the last video, let's take care of the data asset that we have. For the time being, our data asset was using the standard enemy. Just like we did there, let's duplicate this one and change it to something useful. Protector enemy. And move this to the protector folder. Alright, let's assign this here. And from this one, let's take a look at the data asset and what comes with it. For the time being, we don't need the rest, so let me close the rest. And the first thing to start from is the components. Now, taking component is important for when anything is ticking, so just keep that one. State and base combat, ability and attribute, statistics. Statistics is used for, say for example, you get hit, and the amount of times you get hit will be recorded. And either is, it can be displayed for not displayed. It can be used for displaying, how many times you dodge throughout a fight. It can be used for gameplay purposes. If he blocks you 2 times, the third one will be something else. If you get hit twice, the third one will be a dodge, and so on. Collision will be for traces. The field component is for whenever he gets hit, and there is a few. We'll talk about it later. And properties for when the special properties are used. So for now, these are good. Let's keep this one for the usage we have. And let's go with the states. Now, if you go here and play and open the debugger, you'll see he has no state at all. So the state he's spawning with is none. Let's take care of the state he spawns with. Say for example, I want him to be spawning. So I want him to stay idle when he spawns in the beginning. And to re-illustrate again, if you play and look at the AI and you click the apostrophe key, you see he's in a state none. Now, if you go to the data asset itself, you'll see a spawn info property under the general properties. The general properties itself, if you have this property, it will try to run whatever spawn state that you have. Now, if you open the patrolling state, which if you're wondering why is it not running, it will have this condition. So it will run the condition first, just like we do with most of the states, and it will check if we have a special property with this tag. And the class itself is BP patrolling property. And we don't have such a thing on the protector enemy. We only have it on those guys with the spawner. Now I'll explain later how the patrolling works, but for the time being, let's just switch the AI patrolling to idle, so we can visualize the state it's changing in the data asset itself. Sorry, the data table. And if you look here right now in the state value, you'll see it's in BP character idle state. So right now, if you wanna specify a specific state that you want the AI to run with, simply put the state you want here and it will try to run it. Make sure the condition is valid in the beginning so you know it's going to work. Now, we don't have a spawner, so we can remove this part. And we have few other stuff, following behavior, strafing behavior. Now this will depend on you if you want a specific behavior or not. And now we have event per AI sense, and this is related to who can the AI perceive and what type of senses he has. The fourth one is basic info property, which is related to the name and description. If you want any, you can leave it empty or you can delete it. It's completely up to you. We don't need it for our case, so I'm going to delete it. And the fourth one here is related to the AI behavior tree being used. You can switch this to a state tree if you don't want. You can create a new, you can duplicate the AI behavior tree itself, and from there switch to, let me show you pretty quickly, behavior tree, behavior property is it called. Behavior property, this is the one. And as you can see, we have this instantiated variable which you have to assign which type of behavior you want. So in my case, it was AI behavior tree, not the behavior property. See, the behavior tree itself was this one. You see the values? So you have to duplicate this one and say, for example, I want to call this BP underscore AI state tree. And instead I want to use this one, but however, you know, it must have different types of variables inside. You don't need BT keys, so you can add a state tree if you like. Any variables you add here, it will be shown outside as well. So let me show you this and demonstrate. If you go here and switch this to state tree, you see the values. Now how to start a stated tree and how to work with it, that's a completely different topic. So for the time being, we're gonna use the default one we have, and we're just gonna delete this one because we don't need it. And let's continue with the other properties. Index 5 will be the montage inspirability, we already saw this part. And index 6 will be the states we're using. Let's go with the states for now, and as you can see, he only has death state. And we don't want him to only die, so let's go with uh, different things we want him to do. So let's go with equip. So once he sees you, you probably want him to equip, right? So let's add equip. And let's add following. We know we want him to follow. And I'll speak about this in a little bit. Let's add strafing for right and for left. And for the time being, let's stick with those ones. Okay, now how do I know equip will run once he sees me? That's important for when he sees you or when he hears you. You might want a different type of state altogether. So if you look at the event per AI sense, if he sees something, he's gonna try to equip. If he hears something, he's gonna also try to equip. However, some of you might be interested more in a stealth type of game, so if he hears you, want him to check around or whatever. So you can create a specific state for that purpose and you can assign it here. So right now, if the AI sees me, and we can visualize this with the apostrophe key, and if you click number 4 on the keyboard, you can see all the areas that the AI perception is adjusted with. So if he sees me right now and watch my state value, it's still in idle. Now let's take a look at why is he still in idle. If you open the equip and check the condition here, it's because we're trying to run a specific, ability, but we didn't register any ability in the equip itself. So let's do this one. Of course, normal death was assigned to equip. We forgot to change this path, so let's assign it to equip. Character equip, and let's take a look at that one. What this will essentially check, is it controlled by a player? It's not, so it's gonna return if the AI is not fully aware. So he doesn't have this specific combat status, which in our case will be true. So let's assign this and let's check what happens when he sees me. You see, this one's starting to run and the return value is true. Now what happens when it's true? We try to get the montage and play the montage. And assign the combat status we were checking against. So right now we know he's fully aware and we also know he's in combat. You see right now he's in equip state. His pose is changed as well. Let's do that without the breakpoints so you can visualize this one. You see he was in common and right now his pose is changed, but of course without the animation. So let's add the animation. The animation is added from the montage inspirability, and just like we did on the equip for the player, we're gonna do the exact same for the AI. So let's call the equip montage we had. It should be the exact same values we're attaching as well, since we already even gave it the same values from the player weapon. So let's take a look at that one. And he's in equip and he instantly followed me. Now the reason why the animation itself didn't visualize, like it ran, you could see it, but it didn't really play. Let's take a look at the um, the skeleton itself. So we're using UE4 underscore mannequin underscore skeleton. And what does the AI use? It's using the one here, and for this one, we're using the exact same one. So the issue might be in the animation blueprint. So if we take a look at that one, and we have a default slot, let's double make sure we're using the default slot, and surely it wasn't, it was upper body. So if you go here, duplicate this one, protector, but first it's for enemy. And let's swap this to default. And instead, don't worry about this one if this happens. If you close it and reopen it, it will fix itself. Let's double make sure it's default. It is. Now if you go to the protector here and reassign the montage we had. And let's double make sure now he equips it properly. And sure enough it was. Now the reason why he follows me right after is because if you go to the montage, you see an incoin active ability. And very similar to the player, once the equip ability will end, it will try to fire the decide next state that exists on the state itself. Now we're checking if this is controlled by the player, and we're flipping this. If it's not a player, so it's an AI, we're using follow target state. Now follow target state is this one right here, the following state we were using. If we go to the plugins and look for its name, this one is running. It has a condition. Let's double check if it has one. It has one, and the condition is right away true, so you can follow at any time. Now one thing to note in this specific state is one of the things I showed you before was the time controlled state. So once he tries to control, once it's set to true, every 1 second he will try to decide next state again. So every 1 second you can add here where all the magic happens. So once he follows you, after 1 second he'll recheck. Am I far away? Am I close enough? Should I be attacking? If I can't attack, can I strafe? If I can't strafe, restart what I'm doing right now. Now, let's talk a little bit about the following behavior, because we did see this in the start of the general properties. It has a following behavior property, which again you can create your own and assign it here. You can add variables or remove variables or even modify them. So we have this follow threshold, and then you have a follow speed under that threshold. You have a threshold of 650. The following speed under a threshold of 150, sorry, the following speed under 650 distance is 150. If it's above, he'll try to sprint, so 600. He will try to stop following at 300. So what do I mean by this? If you go to the following here, and there's a tick function. The tick function process calculations here. The process calculation will call the adjust movement. So the adjust movement will take into account the threshold, and if he's under that, go to 150. If it's above that, 650. After that, there's a return to post state. We don't care about this for the time being, so skip this one. And we're checking if our distance is less than the 300 we have right here, which I was trying to explain. Stop follow at. If it is less than, instantly try to decide the next state. Instantly. It doesn't wait for the 1 second to finish. It will instantly call it. And the timer will continue. It's not stopping the timer. So once the distance is less than the 300, it will instantly try to do something. So he doesn't keep going and walking towards me, because if that happens, you'll see him just standing in front of you and doing nothing, because we didn't have any attacking. So this one will fail. He has strafing, so he might try to strafe, and um, he might either ignore that and go back to following. If you restart, he's just gonna redo it again. So strafing has conditions as well. So let's take a look at that one. Strafing right and strafing left, they inherit from each other. So strafing left inherits from the strafing right. The only difference is the direction. So we can safely go here and let's check the condition for it. So the condition for strafing being the distance between the AI himself, the performing actor, and the combat target, whichever he chose to attack, in that case, which will be that player, being between 0 and 400. So let's try this one. Let's take a look at him and let's see what him try to do whatever he was trying to do. Equip, follow, and every 1 second he'll check. Now he chose to strafe and then back to follow and so on. Now he's just strafing. Now you know he's not going to attack you because we didn't have any attacking state. So right now what he does is just moving around. So let's try to add attacks and few other things in the next video. So see you guys in the next one.